Hi, I'm Ed Parcaut of Helping the Brave, and Amy Tiemeyer is not here today, but that's okay. We'll move on without her. She's really busy. And today's guest is somebody I met through my Rotary. We had we get together every week. We get together and we have a speaker, and he was referred to me by somebody who's helped out at his place. And I don't want to give it too much away, but let's welcome Van to the studio. Bring him in. Hi, Van. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. How you say your last name, Van?
Curaza.
Curaza, Van Curaza of Operation Surf.
Yeah.
And what really got it for me, and I don't want to take anything away from you, but was the resurface before you came and spoke at our Rotary, was watching the video and then also watching the one I found on Google that wasn't on Netflix
Yeah. We
about
have we have a bunch of them out there, a lot of really powerful um, you know, uh, pieces that have been done on us. ESPN, there's another good one. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, but they're all just as powerful because it's changing lives and they're telling you about it. So
but
that's what
I want to go back, but before it's got to be surreal, huh?
Oh my gosh. Well,
I mean,
this
we'll get there, but I'm just saying, knowing, knowing that what you've told that just because I know you from when you're talking, I'm just when you get to a point where you're like, wow, I was here, now I'm here, it's got
oh
to be,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's mind bending. That's why is don't ever underestimate what could happen in your life if you just put one foot in your front, one foot in front of the other, and just trying to do your best as you go along. Just I can't even tell you how blown away my life is now.
Right. And it's about helping people. Helping people gets us to where we want to go. And
Right.
I want to back up a little bit,
Okay.
talk about your story, how you kind of got into where you are.
Okay.
Just go
Um,
back. So, because people, unless you walked a mile in someone's shoes, they don't really understand how to help somebody. Right.
okay. So what it all basically boiled down to is I'm a former professional surfer. A
So,
lot
can
of
I
my
stop right
time,
there? So, you said former professional. How professional were you? Were you on the magazines back in the 80s? When was that? 70s? When was that?
yeah, actually, I had a few pictures in the magazines, but actually, I got more double page spreads in the magazines after I turned 40. And it's crazy is because as soon as I started surfing for other people and stopped trying to promote self by, me, I need to do this, I have to do this, I want to live this life and do these things, and I just switched that whole mindset towards, I started my surf school and I started sharing surfing with other people. I started, the nonprofit in 2008 and started sharing surfing with other people and found out it's helping other people. And when I did that and I continued to do my big wave surfing, a lot of images were produced and they were, the industry changed is because extreme surfing became more valuable instead of like the top 16 in the competition stuff. So, the evolution of change of industry is, another reason why I got more coverage. But, I got a bunch of, you know, big wave pictures in the magazines that, you know, started fulfilling a childhood dream after 40. So I don't, I
It
don't know.
doesn't matter when it comes, as long as they can. Well, I mean, you look at some of the pro surfers who now do movies, right? They're in the movies and they're doing, helping. It's amazing how far you can, especially. So I used to live in San Diego. I lived in LA. Been all over down there surfing, did that when I was younger. I get the whole thing. But, everybody is, people wouldn't think of surfing helping people, veterans with PTSD and other issues deal with life.
So this is where the story begins is because as as a an only child, raised by my father, in the 60s and 70s, the ultimately, teenager and at 20s and in the 80s is, I lived with a lot of experiences in my life that basically, put my life on a trajectory that I was avoiding a lot of the things that were really deep down inside. This is this is where I found out how surfing was beneficial to me is because I tried to compete, and I did a bunch of things trying to live the lifestyle of a professional surfer. I wanted to travel the world and go surf some of the best waves in the world because it's just so amazing, right? But as I'm doing all this stuff, is the lifestyle. Alcoholism and drug addiction really eventually took over my priorities in my life. Even though I had this vision of what I wanted to do, my lifestyle was actually keeping it from happening. And it got so bad, which is basically I got so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I became willing to do something different, but it didn't come through my own, decision making. The law came in and said, it's time for a change. You're either going to go away for a long time, or you're going to do these programs. And what I did is I took drug court, which was it was education instead of incarceration. And so it was this process to start teaching me about my alcoholism and my drug addiction. And what it basically did is I was trying to put off the sentencing for so long because I got arrested for under the influence and controlled substance and so on and so forth. And I didn't want to do it because if I went to jail, I couldn't surf. And through my history of telling people, my mindset is they would sit back and go, do you know how powerful that is? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, the fact that you would think about if you did this, you couldn't surf. And I was talking about, the criminal life that, whatever level of, criminal aspect is when addiction runs your life, you basically live in the dark side of, society. And so, as I was doing the things in my life, I was just like, man, if I get caught for this, I'm not going to be able to surf. And so as I'm telling my psychologists and therapists this stuff, they're going, God, you know how powerful that is? I still did it. They're going, well, the fact that you would stop and think about if something happens, it's going to take away surfing. Long story short is when I got into recovery and I started looking at self, which is the true part of healing, was instead of looking outwardly at the problems and having blame for everything, it was this process of being able to look at myself. And so as I was looking at this stuff is I realized when I was a senior in high school, I got arrested for sales of cocaine. And I thought my life was over. And when I tell the therapists and the counselors all this stuff is they really seen a lot of power in this. And what happened was at that age, I had all my dreams and my aspirations, and I thought my life was over. And so I went surfing, and I went out in the water, and I paddle out, and I went to go surf, and I was just consumed by just disaster. Like everything is over. And the next thing I do is I remember taking my wetsuit off a couple hours later, and I go, oh yeah, I'm going to get in trouble. My life's over. And I forgot about it. The power is, it's like, okay, you look at the trauma of the stupidity of addiction, but addiction has its own, there's a whole nother story on this. But I'm not going to, it's trauma, it's experiences, it's the hopelessness of life. And yet you do something and it takes your mind off it. So fast forward years later is I get into recovery and I realize that, through my life, I'm just living this life of having to try to survive, and I'm living this life that I thought I had to live to get the things I wanted, but yet I didn't know living the life was actually keeping the things out of my life that I really wanted. And the only way I was able to recognize this is because I changed. I changed the way I lived. And so, because when you're in it, you don't really understand what you're doing. And that is the mindset of probably so many of the topics that you probably talk about is it's like this state of mind of this life we're living, and how do you change that? And sometimes the thought of change is so scary that we don't change. And until the pain of not changing is less than the pain to change, we typically don't change.
Yeah. Question for you before you get going. How old were you when you went through recovery?
I was 1 month before I turned 40.
Okay. The reason I say that is because for a lot of vets with PTSD, They ruin every relationship and they ruin everything. And it's usually right around 40-ish when they finally go get help if they haven't committed suicide by then. That's
So
why I was trying to understand that whole and I want to go back a little bit because when you're talking, when I was in the Navy in Sandy and I was at Camp Pendleton, all the guys I knew would surf. I'd go to their place and the drugs was rampant. And these are guys in the military.
yeah.
Was that just the culture in the 80s and 90s, or is that still the way it is?
Well, in some way, yes.
That's just a question for me because that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's because for me, I'm going to speak through my own experiences. Is I started living a life that was avoiding reality, and so I started to learn about addiction it's experimental, it's recreational, and then it's habitual, and then it becomes like this habitual day-to-day ritual that you have to do. It becomes your life, and it's a progressive thing. And so when we're doing this stuff is there's usually something that we're not addressing that we're using through some type of behavior, which is the using, the drinking, the lifestyle, the culture of being around certain things. And so it sneaks up on you. And so when you asked me how old I was is because I lived a life through those decades, and I created so much shame because I should have did something completely different in my life. But through my choices and decisions, I actually ended up into a place to where I was so miserable. I understood suicide. I enjoyed life enough, but I was so miserable. I understood the hopeless state of mind that this is too much. And I was so angry at certain things that I understood homicide. And the reason why I know that, I didn't really want to, take someone's life, but I was so angry at people. I wanted to commit harm to them, and I was just like, this is not okay. Once again, if I act out in my thoughts, I'll go to jail and I won't be able to surf. So this mindset,
I know you said looking back, but you are where you needed to be. So, I mean, the time that you woke up and everything that's happened to you is for a reason to where you are now. And you didn't know that at the time. And you can but now you look back and you can, so the only way I know how to, because of what I went through, I can help people.
Yes.
I don't want to take your thunder, but that's basically what I've seen from looking at you, watching you, and hearing your story. That's kind of what I see.
So I want to point out something.
Yep.
For the longest time, I would never tell you the truth. I would never tell you where my mindset was, how I felt, or what was going on, is because of the fear of the judgment of other people. When I share this stuff is because I realize when I hold this thing back and I'm not a representation and I don't really this is embarrassing things, to be in that state of mind, to possess that type of mindset is something you don't tell people. But the reality is the more I talked about it and I got into a place to where a lot of people are like this. Not everyone carries out on the thought. Some people do, unfortunately. But the fact is you're not alone out there carrying these thoughts and these belief systems about myself. And I lived that life to cover up the truth of how I felt until I was able to be in a place to where I felt comfortable enough to tell the truth. I hid it. It was a secret. It was something that I hid even through my closest friends. But as soon as I got around an environment where people understood, then I started feeling more safe. And when the encouragement of the ability to have the courage to tell these things is because I heard other people say it. And then I was like, wow, I get it. And it's like, well, if they can, maybe I can. And so eventually, I was able to share the real truth, but through practicing saying that stuff is really what was able to lessen the effect of those thoughts in my head, is because when I was a mess, man, I was a whole complete different person. And so the big thing about me is I got clean and sober when December 16th, 2002. So I have just over 21 years of sobriety. And And through that, I've been able to recognize some things which really set the trajectory of my life, is because I realized when I had 5 years of sobriety, I was a very selfish person. And selfish
You
was,
said in the first 5 years you were.
no, my whole life,
Oh, your whole life. Gotcha.
is because, you picture these 5-year increments of my life, and I can see how the trajectory of my behavior changed every 5 years of my life. And this pattern of thinking and belief systems just became who I am. And so the hardest part is facing the truth. So in the beginning, when I was angry, is because I wasn't able to face the truth. And when someone would say something about me that was basically the truth, I got very angry, because here this person is saying these things about me, and quote unquote, they're doing the same thing, or they're, a big pile themselves. I don't know what kind of language I got to stay in, but
This is helping the brave. It's for veterans. You can cuss. It's
uh,
fine.
okay. So they were a fucking piece of shit too. And so I'm sitting there mad at them, just like thinking, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? The image was, I want to turn them into a bag of broken bones. And that is not healthy. If you're walking the earth and you're that angry, nothing good is coming out of it. You know what I mean? And so I recognized that when I was being told the truth, it was the hardest thing to hear. And that's when I acted out in anger. I'm manipulating the truth by diverting the conversation away from something else, by changing the environment. And usually anger is the first thing that I would go to, and, it's because it's hard to face the truth. And the truth is, I judged myself by my intentions, and the world was judging me by my actions. And then when someone tries to say something to help me, I don't want to hear it. Like, leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm not hurting you. The only one I'm hurting is myself. Leave me the F alone. You know what I mean? It's just like, someone go talk to somebody that wants to hear it, and this mindset is like, it's a progression of these behavior patterns that we get into. And that's why I really wish they would call it PTSD, is because this post-traumatic experience, like, because we experience things that are traumatic, and the experience that we have creates feelings and emotions. And then we have these patterns of behavior to deal with it. Some people deal with it really well. Some people stuff it. There's all kinds of different ways. That's when the alcohol and the drugs are so convenient to just like, oh, yeah, fuck, I'm fine, And the reality is I'm running from the truth. And instead of like having this ability to go, which eventually is the message is, it's okay to be not okay. But denial was what was going to kill me, is because I never thought that any of that shit can happen to me, And here I am in the hallway of courtroom D5 in the San Luis Obispo Superior Court, waiting for my sentencing. And I'm like, how did I get here? And then I realized that I wasn't listening to anybody. I was running my own show. I was making up my own solutions. I was making everything, I was justifying everything in my life. And here I was in this just miserable state of mind, that it was like, it's time to do something different. And that's where I believe the surrender that happened to me, I had to look at it as, I need to do something different. And it's the first time that I made a decision to do something different without having to try to figure it out. Like, because if you're like me, I need to figure out everything, like process every little element of where it's going to take it, where it's going to go, where is it going to put me, who's going to be there, is it going to benefit me? Because that's the selfishness of what my life was, is I needed to survive. And my whole life became survival. And so the truth is I wasn't running my life very well. I was getting arrested. I was in places that are less than stellar. You know what I mean? I'm doing things that you can't be proud of. And so no wonder I had a lifestyle of covering up this reality. And it just took this draw a line in the sand and do something different. And I didn't know that was happening. I just said to God, I said, God, I'm miserable, man. Help me. And a week later I was arrested, and it set me on this trajectory of life to where I was able to, to get into a place to look at myself, get into recovery. I stopped drinking and using. And then I started realizing that a lot of my problems were self-made, and they were self-made because of my behavior when things would happen in my life. And no wonder people were mad at me. No wonder people were going, F Van, you know what I mean? It's like, it's because my behavior is so shitty, and all I thought about was myself. And, if you understood, you would know why, but how many of us say that?
Right.
So many of us. Right?
So once you went to court, how long until you started going through the program, and then until you got into more into surfing to where you are now?
Well,
I don't want to cut anything off that's important. It's just
no,
we've already
well,
we had we said 30 minutes. We're already 20 minutes into this, so I don't want to go. Oh, you didn't even answer why you're here. Yeah.
Well, it's because my life is what I share with our veterans and our active duty
Right.
people. It's because my mindset is what builds the connection. Our life may be simple, and I was never in the military, but I am a very capable, talented, wise man that was very stupid.
Well, no, what you dealt with with drugs and alcohol and dealing with issues are the same
Yeah.
things that vets are dealing with when they come out. They're
Well,
with PTSD, right? Yeah.
that's part of the look for the similarities and not the differences. Because if I'm sad, angry, depressed, shameful, fearful, if I have these traits and I just look at like, you don't understand because this is the way I got there, and unless you say the same thing, I'm not going to allow you to be connected with me, is because when we're able to really identify, the feelings and the emotions connected, it doesn't matter how you got there, but we're all dealing with these feelings and emotions, and that is what is the most important thing. So at the end, surfing was everything to me, and so at the end of my life, I was barely surfing, because my life took me away from the important stuff, is because this whole lifestyle was just like, it was unhealthy, and I'd never set out to do this, but through time and through repetition and the pattern I was living took me away from the thing that was like one of the most beautiful things in my life, and so funny process is as I realized that this was happening, I wanted to be better. I got clean and sober. I stopped drinking and using. I got some clarity. I got around people that understood me. I got around people that helped me be involved in a safe space so I would feel less judged, because I understand that fear was one of the biggest motivators behind my decisions, because I couldn't let you know exactly how I really felt, what was really going on, how I was actually really living, because of the fear of the judgment of what you might think of me, what might happen, what might not happen, like all these different things. It's like fear is like the number one thing that I realized that was really driving a lot of my decisions. So fast forward is the mindset of I call it terminally unique, is because I was different. And if you only knew. So therefore I was alone, is because I was unable to allow myself to be relatable to something, because all I was looking at was the differences instead of the similarities. And so through things like this podcast, is sharing these things openly has become part of my stuff, is because I've realized now that service is a big part of my recovery. And so being able to help other people with like-minded problems with similar experiences, and when I'm able to share my journey and the effects and the emotions, and to let someone know that they're not alone, and for them to come back and say, you helped me, or that changed my outlook on it, and now in this case, is you saved my life. This mission I've been on is how do I use my experiences to continue to help people? And it's so funny, is because when I realized that I was a very selfish, self-centered, self-absorbed SOB, I realized part of my solution is to fit myself to God and be maximum service to other people. And so I became very service oriented about helping people, and with nothing, expecting nothing in return, just knowing that part of me getting over my journey is to help somebody else out. You know, when you have low self-esteem, you have to do esteemable actions, you know, things like that. So as I realized that, and I switched my life to being of service to other people, that's when, back in 2006 and 7, that's when somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to be taking these active duty warriors in transition that are recovering from the Brooke Army Medical Center at the Center for the Intrepid in San Antonio, Texas, surfing. Can you help me do this? I said yes. And I wasn't able to do it that year, but the next year in 2007, 2008, I was able to do it. And so what happened was I was able to share surfing with a group of, they were all active duty at that time, recovering from their injuries from combat at the Center for the Intrepid in San Antonio, Texas. And as I was doing this, I was able to share what was, you know, really valuable in my life. And what happened was I realized that it was about connection is one of the most important things, is because I was helping this this sergeant out, and he lost his leg. He stepped on an IED, but before that, he was up for a dishonorable discharge due to the choices he made to protect and keep his men safe. But yet it was something he was told not to do, but he was all, fuck it. My job is to take care of my men. I'm going to do what I need to do. And then as he does this, you know, the reports go on, he's up for a dishonorable discharge. They want to take everything from him. And then after that, he loses his leg. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? And, you know, but sitting next to him was this 19-year-old kid, because at this time I'm, you know, 40 something years old, almost 50 years old. And he's a bilateral above the knee amputee. You know, he stepped on an IED and lost both his legs. And I'm like, just going, holy shit. Like, I'm looking at outwardly at this time, I'm learning about, you know, the effects of war. Right. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, holy shit. Like, you know, pardon the reality of, like, their fucking lives are fucked. But they were smiling because they were surfing with me all day. And I was like, fuck, if these guys can do this, have all this going on in their life and smile, I could never stop doing this. So through this process, I started learning more and more. And that's why I now have Operation Surf is a curriculum-based program. So I have all these elements in our program that not only teaches you surfing, but it builds connection. It allows people to understand, like, one of the biggest things I can do is develop a feeling that you're not alone. And when you're not alone and you build trust with individuals, you're able to tell the secrets that you would never normally not tell anyone. And when the person is sharing the things that are the weight on their mind and on their heart, those are the people that usually don't kill themselves. So on this mission that I'm now on, I realized that the mindset that I have lived with my whole life and the problems that have happened, I've realized that my problems and my challenges and my experiences are actually the things I need, are actually the way out of my misery by using my experiences by helping other people. And that is building connection. And that's what we do. And that's what I was trying to explain. So when you watch the Resurface documentary and those different things, is, you know, they prescribe us prescription pills to take your mind off of these nightmares and all these different things. And when I was talking with Bobby Lane back in 2010, I think it was, you know, I realized when I was telling you about when I was going to get arrested and I forgot about, my life was over. I forgot about it because I went out surfing. And GoPros came out in about 2010. And so I was on this little GoPro kick, right? And so I go to Bobby Lane and I'm like, hey, you know, what was Operation Surf to you? And he's all, it's like the new heroin. And I was like, what do you mean? I go, it took your mind off it? He goes, The doctors have prescribed me every pill in the book to try to stop my nightmares, because he can't sleep, you know, and he's afraid to go to sleep because he doesn't want to keep living the same nightmare night after night after night. And so, you know, those thoughts keep, you know, our warriors from getting any real sleep, which is wellness and health, right? And so, and he goes, I've been surfing for 3 days and all I think and dream about is surfing. And I just went, I go, that's it. And I'm like, surfing is so beautiful is because the only thing that we have control over is our actions and our attitude. And when I use things in my life to create more drama in my life, that's what I have, you know? But when I can put things in my life that are helpful, and when I realize that when I take people in the water, they are 110% engaged in the ocean. So whatever's going on inland and what's going on that is just consuming their mind is erased until you get the opportunity to stop and go, oh yeah, my life's over. I'm going to get arrested. That sense of relief is what nature-based programs can do for people. I share surfing. People fly fish. People kayak. People do all kinds of different things, you know, and
Firewalk.
I was just about ready to say it, but I didn't want to steal your thunder.
No,
But
say it all you want, man. It's just it changes how you're looking at things.
Right. And so, and how do we learn this stuff? By hearing it from like-minded people. So ultimately, we're building relationships. We're building trust. And when I'm a leader that says it's okay not to be okay, but here's my mess, but here's my message. Basically, here's my problem, here's my solution. Here's what I do to help these things. And I don't tell people what to do. More likely someone's going to try to say like, well, if that helped them, maybe I should try it, you know? And to tell you the truth is, you know, I've had to learn a lot of hard lessons along the way. I can't make people do things. You know, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You know, you can see people that need help, but you can't make them take the help, you know? Mm-hmm. And so that attraction, that life that we live. And so that's why, you know, the returning aspects of the people that go through our program to come back to help the new people is part of the program. And so people can hear from their experiences to the new people that they went through the program and here was their mindset and this was their experiences, because a lot of them, all they really want, they tell them is you can trust these guys, is because I lived such a life of lack of trust. I didn't trust anyone or anybody. And the biggest gift is to feel like you're understood, and that allows walls to come down. And so that's why I share those shitty stories about the stupid shit I did in life, is because the reality is we all have stupid shit. We have stuff that happened that's stupid, that didn't have anything to do with us, but we experienced something that is something that we're trying to avoid. And, you know, and those are, in a nutshell, that's a lot of our lives of carrying a load of stress, you know. And I've heard a lot of things in my journey of helping our warriors. And, you know, if you can give someone an opportunity to give a good night's rest and sleep, then your body's going to recover. Your mind's going to recover. If you do something that's fun, you're going to smile. You're going to have fun. If you do it with a group of people, you create a community, which is what the military is all based on, is a unit or a team or something like that. And you do that with a bunch of new people, having fun, sharing these experiences, you create this identity again that's not in the military, but it's with your former, you know, military members, learning how to surf and sucking at it along the way, you know, but learning and being willing to try something, you know. And I don't know. I just really think that what Operation Surf is it's a group of people led from the top, that it's okay not to be okay, and that share our service with love, compassion, and empathy. Is because we're not doing this to gain anything for any reason other than we want to help somebody. And when you can tell somebody's doing something for the right reason, you feel it. And when you see someone doing something for whatever reason, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work the same, you know? And so,
Right.
you know, I'm really proud of our organization. I'm really proud of my team. I can't do this alone. I can't do it without people that believe in our mission, that donate to our organization, is because there's no cost to any of our veterans that go through this stuff. So, you know, there's just so much to the story that just goes on and on and on. And
So it's not a VA approved program
well,
yet.
well,
I'm just
I
asking.
would say, put it this way, I've had
Yeah.
VA people approve of it unofficially,
Right.
but I'm not being told what to do. So
No, what I mean by that is it sounds to me like it works. It's something that should get approved by the VA. Here's my issue with the VA. Okay, this is all I'm going to say. It should be scrapped, and everybody should get insurance and be able to use that insurance anywhere to get help. That's my take on it, because not the best doctors, not the best nurses go to VA to work. And it's nothing on the nurses and doctor that are there, but they, you know, if they can make money, they're going to go elsewhere. That's just how that works. So there's a better way of doing it. Just get rid of the VA and have insurance for people like they have it for everything else, and just move on.
well, see that you're pretty accurate. There, I have met some very really good people in the VA system too.
I'm not saying they're not those, but that's an exception to the rule.
Like Doc Straz in the documentary.
Yeah.
He's one of them, you know?
Right. But for every one, there's like 100 not. No offense. It's just,
Well,
we just need a better system is all I'm saying.
well, that's why programs like us are important, and like other things, is because if there's other platforms that to help our humans, you know, our human beings that served our country behind the uniform, that signed on the dotted line and said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect our freedom. Well, we need to think outside the box, world, and we need to do things that are different than what has been going on, is because things like what we do, they help, they work, you know? We've had medical studies done on, I think I touched on it a little bit, is we had one done, and it was a study done on 100 of our past participants, and it decreased PTSD by 36%, decreased depression by 47%, but it increased self-efficacy by 68%. And that self-efficacy to empower, an individual to face the challenges that exist now, I mean, that's what it's all about. Is like, shit is not going to change. It happened yesterday, but what am I going to do about it today to help my tomorrow? And these type of things is, it's what needs to happen. And there's a lot of really good programs out there, but I'm telling you that our program is based on the things that help me,
right?
That help this stubborn mind actually learn that it's okay to not be okay, and to surrender the fact that the way I'm living my life is not benefiting me. And that belief system is hard to change, because, anything with change is hard. Even good things, are hard to change, and hard things that we don't even know are hurting us, they're even harder to change, it's because we don't think we can live without them. And the truth is you can't. And when you have people leading by example that do that, and that to understand, like, to tell you the truth, alcohol is one of the biggest hurdles that we have to overcome, is because it's so ingrained in our culture that it's actually part of the problem. And reason why I say that is because until I quit, I seen things differently. When I got clarity, I was able to see and hear things differently, and I was able to change my perspective on things, because I realized I had a challenge of perception, and I looked at things a certain way for a long time, and I had to learn that I don't have to look at things that same way. And when I was able to start doing that, my life was able to change. And now that, I'm 61 years old, I live a life that I'm serving our top units of America. And former drug addict pro surfer with no college education, but I have an education of life, you know, and I use my shitty fucking decisions to help people understand you're not alone, you know, and it's okay. You know, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I'm just going to say that out there loud and clear. To be able to have the courage to say, I need some help, I don't know what I'm doing. More importantly, follow through with some suggestions. That is strength. That is a sign of strength that I want to throw my pom-poms up, that until I actually asked for help, I was living a pathetic life, even though I'm actually a good man, you know, and I was jaded by the lifestyle I was living.
Man, how do people find your program if they want to get, how do people get help in your program? Do they have to be referred to you? How does that work?
Well, you can go on to our website, or, we have, I'm not in
OperationSurf.org.
operationsurf.org. I'm really, you call us at 805-544-SURF. I love our number. You could, we're on social media, but, I'm not a real social media fan. Just email us directly, get the lifeline, create that direction. If you are an organization or a family foundation or a foundation that wants to, donate to something that is actually changing and saving lives, there's a lot of really good programs out there, but we are one too, and we can use your help, because there's many different ways to join the village. Is because every piece of what it takes to receive our testimony, it's all important. So if you're taking trash out, you're serving meals, you know what I mean? You're donating money, you're escorting someone from somewhere. The Patriot Guard Riders are great. I say that because I always love, they escort us in Santa Cruz, and our next program is coming up in March, and they escort us with, the police, sheriff, highway patrol, from the San Jose airport all the way to Santa Cruz. And, I got to give big shout out to our Vietnam veterans and our other former military guys that are part of the Patriot Guard Riders. And to be a part of that, to know that your piece that you are involved with changes lives, and it saves lives, and so I really tell you, we can't do it alone. I'm the founder of the organization, and I'm broke. So I'm not a founder with a bunch of money to go shovel into something to go do a service. I'm just a person that has went through a lot of challenge and struggle in my life, and I'm reaching out to people. If you got it, we need it, and I say that humbly and with gratitude, and because I live a grateful life because of helping people, and there's many ways to help. So just like what you're doing, Ed, this right here is sending out our message of what we do. And so I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and, helping the brave, and
yeah, because we're most of us don't feel we're heroes, but we're brave because we run towards stuff, and instead of wait for stuff. All right, so when I asked how do people get involved, I'm not looking for people to help donate to you, but do you get your veterans from one place only, or do they just
So we have we have a application process. So you can contact us, and then we have, here's the thing. We only have a few programs a year, so there's very few spots. So this is why there's so much more needed. I don't like saying no to people. It actually is my own personal journey of recovery, is because you never know when that help is going to come across someone's table, so to speak, that it's going to be the thing that may change or save a life, and, I understand, like, I could only do as much as I can do. And so there's so many opportunities. So email us, info@operationsurf.org. Contact us through our website. We have short windows where our applications are available to apply. Don't stop. Communicate with us. I just tell you that I wish I could do more, but keep reaching out to us. and let us know, because we do have resources. We do have other friends that do programs that are similar, that have the ability to have a resource to help. So if we can't help you, and hopefully we could direct you to someone that can maybe give you some help also. So yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? It's, even if you can't be a part of the program, and you're a veteran, come out and volunteer, and help and be a part of something, reach out to your community and see where there's places to volunteer, to do something, because the main thing is what changed my life was being of service and helping other people. So it is fun to come to programs like Operation Surf, but really, it's about helping other people. Give yourself purpose again, and find a mission in your life that that's part of the solution. And
Yeah, I want to ask a question. What does it cost for you to put a veteran through your program, so people know, like, if I donate so much money, this will help so many veterans? Is there a cost base?
so
Have you figured that out?
yes, it's between $500 and $7,500. Obviously, depending on where you come from and the process, everything's going up. So depending on where you come from and how because we pay for transportation, housing, all the services that we do, we hire professional surf instructors because it's important to me that you get the best care possible. And so about $5,000 to $7,500 per person that goes through our program. And some stuff's donated, but not everything is. And so that's about the cost per
So if you want to
individual.
help 100 people, that's $750,000.
Sure. You know what I mean?
Add a zero.
Yes. It
And
just,
well, at 7,500, 10
yeah.
people would be 75,000. Add
Yeah.
another zero, 100 people would be
Yeah.
750,000. So that's,
Well, as we
I'm a
go
numbers
through that,
guy. Yeah. Huh?
we're trying to scale our organization to where we can operate in a healthy manner too, is because
Right.
our health and wellness is just as important as the people that we serve. Is because if we're not in a good state of mind and don't have a good life to share with you, then our service to you is diluted. And so, yeah, we need resources, we need people, we need volunteers with skill sets. There's all kinds of different ways. Reach out, and contact us if you want to help, or if you want to be a part of it. I'm not saying that just because we have a few spots doesn't mean that you can't be one of them.
Right. Well, and have you guys reached out to the state of California for any grants for any of those programs?
Yes, grants are very difficult. I just know that we're a small team. We don't have a grant writer on our team. The only grants that we've ever received in 15 years are ones that were given to us by people, say, apply for this grant, which is the bridge to the person that is saying yes to the grant. So every
Gotcha.
grant that we have spent hours and hours and hours on to receive money from, we've never got.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
No, the only reason I'm asking, because there was a gentleman we had coming to a Rotary talking about, he was in the Marine Corps for 10 years, then he got incarcerated for 23 because he did something stupid. And he says you either commit suicide or go to prison with PTSD, is some of the, what he stated. He wrote a program to help vets never go back in, and he got it funded while he was incarcerated through the government, and he got like $4 million from it. And then he had somebody else run it. Then he got out, and he's since then the thing has grown, and it's to where they put veterans in 3 prisons in California versus having them all over, so they can deal with their issues. And he's never had one person go back in. I'm just saying, maybe I connect you two, and he might be able to go, hey, this is kind of how we, I mean, you never know. So
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if there's a way to help us and help each other, by all means. I mean, I would love any, contacts of somebody. And if anyone wants to reach out and contact us, I'm not opposed of helping people, because if you're helping, all we're doing is helping other people. So
no, it's just,
that sounds like an amazing program, by the way. I really like that.
It really is. And he spoke about it, and everybody, because he goes, he has a TED Talk, Have you
Yeah.
done, you should get on it and do a TED talk because that would help you out a lot. But he did a TED talk on it. And if you watch the TED talk, he says how, you go in as a tool. They teach you all this stuff. You're a tool of war. You come home. He goes, if you're a Bradley, that's one of those tank things. He goes,
Yeah.
if you paint it yellow and put it's a school bus, it doesn't know it's a school bus. It still rips up the streets. He goes, that's the problem with veterans when we come back. It's the same problem. You haven't done a boot camp out to get that out of them and help them. And so they got all this issues. It was a great, I mean, the guy's amazing. He's like you. They just wanting to help. And he was and that's all he does.
Well, that transition period from warrior to citizen, it is the journey that everyone's on, and it is the process that really creates a lot of problems with the warriors. Integration back into civilian life is because the belief systems that they have developed and mindset it doesn't work out here. There may be some traits and some belief systems that are helpful to you, but usually that mindset doesn't really jive very well with normal society, and they get in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of different things. I'm not saying that across the board, but I just know that
they just and they lose their purpose. That's the biggest thing. You had a purpose. Someone told you get up every morning, you do this, you get out, you don't have that same purpose. It's finding the purpose. And what you do help a lot of vets. What we're trying to do is help them too. And that's why I do this show. I want people to understand it's about, once you take the uniform off, how do you get going forward?
I was just about ready to say you've built your purpose and continue to help your brothers and sisters in the armed forces. Like it's, good for you. I was super stoked. Like when you said you had this, and this, I'm like, go Ed. This is rad.
Well, I ran away. When I got out, I ran away from it just because nobody cared. And it was more of a nuisance. And then I came back to it. And just because it's important, the whole purpose of it, once everybody's committing suicide, we've lost more veterans from suicide than we lost in the last 3 wars put together since 9/11. Since 9/11. Yeah.
For why wellness mindset, people being amongst people that know what's going on helps, is because all I know is that if I tell somebody what's going on with me, it doesn't grow. And when I allow myself to be teachable and listen guidance from somebody else, it could be someone younger than me, someone completely different, but they might say something really good. But if I'm not in the mindset to receive, I can miss a lot of helpful things in my life. And remaining teachable is one of the traits that I like to have, is because if I know it all, I'm in big trouble.
Van, thank you so much for coming on Helping the Brave today. And everybody go to the Netflix, watch the documentary Resurfaced. It's Resurfaced, right? With the ED, or is it just Resurfaced?
Resurface. It's like a resurface.
Resurface the board. Yeah. Because it's amazing documentary, and you'll learn a lot about the program. If you know somebody who needs the help, have them reach out. If you want to help them, reach out to them. Go to operationsurf.org, check them out. Donate to them. They need some help, and they will really appreciate it. Van, again, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you very much for this opportunity. It is a definite honor and a privilege to be able to serve our military members. So thank you for your service. And I don't say that lightly, is because the freedom that I have is because of people like you protecting it. As they say, freedom is not free. And I want to give back and help you guys and girls. So
thank you again, sir. Thank you. Make it a great day. We'll be back next week. Same time. All right. Bye.